morning. I'm glad you're all here. I'm Cindy Lee. I am one of the early childhood special education consultants at the Region 10 Service Center. And we support school districts, parents, teachers, anybody who is anything to do with education all around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So I am happy to be here with you this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about all of the different changes and traditions and things that happen in the lives of our young children and how we can help them prepare for it and how we can make sure that we're prepared for it as parents. So, move the next slide. We're going to look at some of the things that you have there today, the handouts. One of them is a parent's guide to ECI and ECSE. Just by raising your hand, how many of you had children at one time that were in early childhood intervention? Or did any of you have that?
I missed it.
You missed it. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about that transition piece, and then we're going to talk about how we can support our children through those early childhood transitions. And then my favorite thing we're going to talk about is how we help our children build independence, because it's so important when you think about your kids and little things that we do, even helping them, allowing them to pick out their clothes or what they're going to have for snack. Those are building those skills for independence that they need to help them be successful adults. And so we're going to talk about what we can do at home to help our children become more independent. So next slide. So what is early childhood special education? You can keep going. Early childhood special education is a services that our school district provides. So what Capel provides to you when your children are between the ages of 3 until the day they turn 6. So when they're in kindergarten. And it's just those services. And it's individualized to meet the needs of your child, and that's part of what you do when you sit in that ARD meeting, is you talk about what your child needs to be successful. Next slide. In order to qualify, you probably know this, but in order to qualify for special education, you have to meet one of the 13 areas of disability that is established. You have to also have what we call an educational need. So there has to be that disability or that what your child has, that identifying condition, there has to be a need that impacts their educational ability in order for them to qualify for special education. And then that is when we have that admission review and dismissal meeting. And I'm sure you all sat in your ARD meetings where you've talked about your child and what services your child needs to help them be successful in school. Next slide. So we're going to look at the first resource we have, which will be this one right here. And I laugh because it's a parent's guide and it's written in parent-friendly language. But as any of us have ever sat in an ARD meeting, it's not easy to understand. The language that we talk about, the words that we use, they're hard to understand. Sometimes you go in and it's hard to know what we're talking about. So I encourage you, if you ever don't know or you don't understand, don't be afraid to ask questions. I will tell you, when I was a brand new teacher, I didn't know. And people would come in my room and they would talk about an IEP or an ARD or an OT, and I had no idea what they were talking about. So we've all been in your shoes where we were learning, so never ever be afraid to ask questions if you don't know what we're talking about. Okay, so next. So part of what it talks about in this guide is it talks about the evaluation process, which if you've been through this, you know what it is. The first one is consent, that we have to get informed consent from you as the parent to understand what we're proposing to evaluate in, what disabilities we're looking for, what we might be suspecting, and make sure that you understand the process. Then we conduct an evaluation. After the evaluation is done, we meet as an ARD committee, and that is where we determine if your child is eligible for services and develop their individualized education plan. And so it kind of goes through, if you're looking at the first page on here, it talks a little bit about the different eligibility conditions. It talks about some things you need to know. That kind of helps you as you're navigating this process. Next slide. One of the things it also talks about in here is it talks about that transition as you're moving from early childhood intervention to the school district. And it talks about those conferences and things that you do. But my favorite part on this is if you look at page 6. It talks about some tips for parents. So things that we can do as parents. One of the things on here is it talks about how to organize your child's IEP binder. There's a lot of paper that you get from the schools. What do you do with it? Well, it's really helpful if you have it organized in some way that you have it to refer back to. You can look at your child's progress. If anybody asks questions, you have it. So there is in this, and it's linked online, and I can make sure y'all have the link to the online, but there's a video that kind of walks through some ideas and some tips and some strategies of how you can organize a binder to keep all of your paperwork together. Because if you've never done it, you don't, I mean, that's a hard thing to come up with, is what do I do with all of this? Stick it in the bottom of a drawer? Well, this gives you a really good way to organize it.
And Cindy, one other thing, you also will get electronic copies, right? So in your email inbox, make a folder and put them all in there, all of your child's ARD paperwork into that folder for easy reference.
It's just nice to have it. Making sure, like I just said, that you always ask questions and make sure you understand the process. Engaging in pretend play activities. Our little ones, actually all the way up to age 8, worksheets, flashcards, things that are on paper, they're abstract and they don't mean anything to them. I can look at a sheet of paper that has a letter A on it all day long, but I'm not gonna understand what that is. I can look at a picture of a square, but I'm not gonna understand what that is. But if I'm playing with a letter, if I'm touching a letter, if I'm rolling it out in Play-Doh, that makes sense to me as a young child. So making sure that you're engaging in those pretend play activities, that you're playing school, especially as your child's getting ready to go to school or working on school, play teacher, play those activities, but make sure that everything, that you're doing things in play. Because while play sounds fun, play truly is how we learn. And I like to think about, even as us as adults, if you think about how you learn, if you think about a surgeon who's going to operate on take your appendix out, he doesn't learn how to take your appendix out by reading a book or by looking at a workbook. He learns how to do it by practicing, by playing. And I mean, that sounds funny to say, but by playing with a cadaver or playing with how do you cut and how do you take out that appendix. We all learn that way. And playing is fun. Making sure that you can, if you have the opportunity to visit the classroom, visit the classroom. When your child is going to a new classroom or getting a new teacher, ask if you can get a picture of that teacher. Show your child the picture. Talk about, your child's gonna, Miss Jones is your teacher, we're gonna meet Miss Jones. It helps take away that anxiety and the apprehension, not just for your child, but also for you. Because it's scary to send your 3-year-old off to school. So helping to ease that transition. Reading books to your child about the first day of school. About what to expect at school, how to act at school, what is school. Because if I've never been, I don't have any context of what school is or what I'm supposed to do there. Also share information with your teacher about what your child likes. It helps us as teachers to know if your child really loves dinosaurs, and I know that, if he gets upset at school, I can get some dinosaurs out, I can play with him, I can build on his interest to help him feel safe and comfortable at home. And then the last one on here for a tip is ask if your child can take a small toy or a photo to school with him. Make sure you check with your teacher, because sometimes bringing something from home can be really distracting to the classroom. We don't want it out all day long, we want it to stay in the backpack, but sometimes just having a picture or something there can give you some comfort. But make sure that you talk to your teacher, especially if you're scared about your child going to a new school. And it's not just starting school the first time, it's when you move from pre-K to kindergarten to first grade to second grade. Those are all changes, they're all new. So these are just some good tips to help you as parents help your child and your child's teacher be as successful as possible. The next slide. So that's all in this book. So now we're going to move to the other one, which is supporting early childhood transitions. So there's a lot of information here. It focuses a lot on that transition from pre-K to kindergarten, because that's a big change. It's a big change when we go from pre-K to kindergarten. We're talking here about how to establish a supportive environment for your child, making sure that you are communicating and collaborating with your child's teacher. Because you you're your child's first teacher as their parent. You are the one that is spending time with them at home. And making sure that you know what's going on at school so that you can help and extend on that makes a huge difference in having that collaborative relationship with our teachers. And making sure that we have a cohesive plan, that we're all working together as our child moves from one classroom to another or one setting to another. And then that building self-determination skills. That's a big word. We like big words, right? But what self-determination is, it is those being able to problem solve, being able to be independent, being able to take care of myself and meet my own needs. And it sounds really silly, but when I'm building a tower of blocks and my blocks fall down, figuring out how to pick them back up and rebuild them, that's problem solving. That is the first step of learning how to solve problems. If I drop something or I spill something, figuring out how to clean it up and to put everything back together, that's problem solving. If my brother and I are having a fight, we both want the same toy and I don't want to share and he doesn't want to share, and we have to learn how to share that same toy that we want or take turns. Those are skills that help us be successful, so that when I'm 21 years old and I have a flat tire on the side of the road, I know what to do to take care of that because I've learned the foundation for how to solve my problems. I've learned the foundation how to take care of my own needs. And that's what we're going to talk about a lot today is, like I said at the beginning, is how do we do that? So let's look at this little booklet a little bit. I'll kind of show you at the beginning of it. It talks a little bit about building strong communication, having those collaborative relationships with your teachers. Because we do, as educators, as teachers, we want to have a collaborative relationship with you. We want to work with you and be partners with you. And so this just kind of talks about that. It talks about how to develop that transition plan. You'll hear that as your children get older. You'll hear about their transition plan to help them transition out of school when they're 18 and move on to being an adult. But we're talking here about a transition plan as we are moving, because every time you have a change, that's a transition. If I'm moving from a classroom to a classroom, sometimes I'm moving from a school to a school. Those are all transitions and they're all changes. So making sure that we are talking about what our child needs, we're advocating for our child, we're helping to give them the supports that they need, talking to their teacher about what helps them be successful in your classroom so that we can communicate that with the new classroom so they know what your child needs to be successful. But my favorite part is when you go to page 6. And there's a couple things we're going to look at that kind of talk about the same thing here. But it talks about when our child is 3 to 5. How do we help them make choices? Well, providing them choices in food, material, and activities. I will tell you, when you make sure you give your child a choice, make sure it's a choice that you're okay with and a choice that you have. Because don't tell me, would you rather have a Hershey's bar or an orange if I don't have a Hershey's bar to give you? Because if I choose the Hershey's bar, you better have it to give me. Also, if you don't want me to have a Hershey bar, don't offer it as a choice. You can have a strawberry or a blueberry. I want you to have fruit. You can have, a carrot or a piece of celery, whatever your choices are. But give them choices, but choices that you can live with. Don't give them a choice it's not something you want them to choose. But when you give them a choice, they feel empowered. And a lot of times, if I don't want to comply with what you're saying, and I think you want me to eat that blueberry, that's what you want. You want me to eat the blueberry, I'm gonna choose the orange because I'm trying to be defiant. But in reality, I don't care if you eat a blueberry or an orange, I just want you to have a healthy snack. It's time to sit down. You wanna sit down at this chair or this chair? I could care less, I just want you to sit down. But don't give me an option that's not something you can live with, because if I choose it, you have to let me have it. Using visuals is a good way to help them make choices. If you have a child, you can put pictures like on a cabinet or on a snack box or on your refrigerator with the choices of food that is available in that for that child to have, so then they can just walk up and point to what they want and show you what they want. If you use visuals on a refrigerator or on a shelf or anywhere for them to choose them, Make sure they're the kind that can Velcro that you can take off and on, because I have seen where you always have blueberries in the fridge, but I ran out last night and my child's walking up to the fridge and pointing to the blueberries and they're not in there because I haven't been able to get to Target to buy more. So take it off when you run out of blueberries. Then it's not a choice anymore. But if you're using visual supports, get the kind that are easy to take off and change, because you can't always have everything in your house to eat at all times. It's not possible. But still on 3 to 5, model and role play how to resolve conflicts. When you're playing with your child, I want that toy. How come I can't have that toy? Model that. How do I resolve that conflict? Well, I guess I'll let you have it, then can I have it next? But show them how, if you're upset, if you're sad, if something didn't go your way, it's okay to say, I'm upset because I dropped my hot coffee on my shirt, now I have to change clothes. What am I gonna do? Well, I'm gonna take a few deep breaths, I'm not gonna let it bother me, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna change clothes. Because when you show them that it's okay to be upset, it's okay for things to go wrong, and this is how I fix it when it happens, they watch you. They learn from you, and they mimic you. If you drop coffee on you and you stomp your feet and scream and yell and pound the wall, the next time something doesn't go well for them, that's what they're gonna do, because that's what they saw you do. So if you need to go in there and stomp your feet and slam the wall, go to the closet, shut the door where they can't see you. Giving them the opportunity to make independent decisions, helping them persist with a challenging task. I am playing with a toy, I can't figure out how to make it work. I get mad. What's a 3-year-old do? Cry, scream, yell. Don't do it for them. Help them do it themselves so they learn how to do it. It's easy to do it for them. And I know as a parent, I've been guilty of that myself. Of here, let me just do it for you. I don't have time. But if you can teach them how to solve it themselves or how to fix it themselves, you are helping them be independent. And then also helping them make decisions. And then talk about the negative consequences of those decisions, because there are. If you decide to do that, this is what's gonna happen, your choice. I mean, even as much as, if you decide to throw a fit and throw all your toys off the floor, you might not get to, play on your iPad for 30 minutes tonight, but that's your choice. That's a natural consequence, it's what happens. But letting them have that. That keeps going on, but I'll keep going a little bit more and share some more. Talks about goal setting, which might seem silly when you're talking about a 3-year-old, but goal setting can be, what do we want to accomplish today? Here's what we have to do. We're gonna get up, we're gonna get dressed, we're gonna eat breakfast, we're gonna go to school, we're gonna come home, I'm gonna let you play outside for a little bit. But if you put down their day and then you check it off as you're done, they're getting to see what they've accomplished. Just like, do we have to-do lists? Do y'all make to-do lists for yourself?
Yes.
I still am the old school on a sheet of paper, because I love the feeling of scratching off when I've accomplished something. And sometimes if I feel like I'm not accomplishing things, I'll break my task down into little bitty steps so I can scratch off more, so I feel really accomplished. But our kids feel the same way. If you let them check off things when they're getting done, that they not only learn the steps to succeed, but they can feel accomplished because I got everything on my list accomplished for today. I was successful. I had a good day. When it's time to finish playing, to come inside, to go to bed, to go to school, whenever you have a transition coming up, tell them you have a transition coming up. I will tell you, if I say to a 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old, you have 5 more minutes, they don't know what 5 minutes is. They don't understand the concept of time necessarily. So sometimes, especially if you see your child is struggling with that, you have 5 more minutes, tell them you have enough time to build 1 more block. You have time to do 1 more puzzle. You have time to go down the slide 3 more times, and then we're gonna come inside. That's concrete.
I found our children really understand the concept of a TV show. So I often pick a short amount of time. I'll say you can watch 1 Bluey because they're only 8 minutes. If I have a longer amount of time, my child's favorite is Mickey Mouse right now. It's a 30-minute show, so I'll say you can watch a Mickey Mouse. So if you use a time frame that they understand, like I said, they're not going to understand, oh, you have 8 minutes, but they do understand you can watch one Bluey episode.
And so helping them have that context will help them not to melt down when it's time to give up something I don't want to do. I am playing outside on my slide, but if I know I can slide 3 more times and you do, okay, that's 3, 2 more times. Okay, this is your last time to slide. And if your child has a communication delay that they don't understand that, you can hold visuals up. Let them know, give them visuals to let them know that you're almost done. One more time, red light, green lights, yellow lights are great. Green light means you're good to play, you can have all the time you want to. Yellow light means it's time to get ready to stop. Red light means it's time to stop and come inside. You can find those on Amazon. They have little timers, have different lights. But those are good for our children that might not understand. 1 more Bluey, 5 more minutes, 3 more times on the slide. But just making sure that you're giving them, because if you tell them it's time to go, well, I'm not ready to go, and I didn't know, you might end up with me on the floor screaming, yelling, and throwing a temper tantrum because I don't want to leave. So giving them that warning and helping them prepare for that transition helps.
If you do need any help with any of these, developing a daily schedule, a visual timer, those are things that we have resources for that I can help you develop. So if that is something that you are needing, please just reach out to me and we can work together to make those things happen. So if there's a recommendation that Miss Lee is making and you're thinking, man, I don't know how to do that, we can get together afterwards and set up a time to work on those things.
The other thing is, as young children, we do not understand personal space. I do not know what it means when you tell me, stay in your space. Because and I will tell somebody when they're thinking about becoming an early childhood educator, if you have personal space issues, it's not for you. Because our little ones are gonna be all up all over you. But helping them understand what personal space is. This is my personal space. My hands go around, this is mine. And letting them take their hands and doing it. Giving them a little carpet square so they can see what it feels like. Or a hula hoop is a great way to have a visual to this is how much space is yours. But if you have a child that doesn't understand that, help them learn. Because remembering that they don't know anything until we teach them. They don't understand until we teach them. So coming up with ways to teach them that. And then at the end, there's a bunch of resources that you can go to that help you with ways to help build self-determination, which really is just a big fancy way of saying independence, problem solving. But this one gives you some really good concrete things you can do at home. And having your child help you. When I'm sorting the laundry, I'm gonna let you take your socks, match socks, sort socks, put them together. Take towels, put big towels, small towels, hand towels, little, washcloths, and big towels. Have them separate those out. It's helping them, they're not only helping you, they're being productive members of your household, but they're learning to match, they're learning to sort, they're learning size. That's all you have, it doesn't have to be something super fancy. Make sure you talk to your children as you are washing your hands. The water is hot, the water is cold, this is soap, but I'm going to change your diaper, this is what we're going to do. When you do things like that, you're building that vocabulary and you're helping them understand what's going on, even if they truly don't understand it first. You're just exposing them to words, vocabulary, and knowledge. So then this is kind of what we talked about earlier, is establishing that supportive environment. So going back to when we're transitioning from one environment to another, is making sure that you are having clear expectations, that you're realistic in your expectations, you're communicating with your teachers, you're talking to your teachers, to make sure that you know what's expected, you're helping your child prepare, and that you're being that partner and collaborating with everyone at the school. Next. Kind of going back to the same is our teachers are, they wanna collaborate with you, they wanna communicate with you, they wanna talk to you about what's going on. But really a lot of what we do in early childhood is play. So your child may not be coming home with, I wouldn't want my child coming home with workbooks or worksheets or things that they've done at school, because what they're doing is hands-on. That's how we learn when we're little. But making sure that you're communicating. If you have questions about what is my child doing, or I see that my child is being very successful with using the bathroom at school, how are you doing that? Because you can then take what they're learning at school and move that into your home, but have that communication, have that collaboration with your teachers. So something that I didn't print today, but that is available online, and we can make sure you get a link to it, is, and this is again something that you think of when you're talking about what do we do when we're in high school. And when I say it, you're gonna say, you are crazy to say this word to me when I'm talking about a young child, but we're talking about Texas Transition and Employment Guide. The Texas Transition and Employment Guide is a huge book. It's got so much information in there, but it's to help your child be successful when they leave school. One of the things that's really important on there is it talks about there are a ton of resources that are available for our children when they leave school. But a lot of them have huge, long 18+ year wait lists. I encourage you, put your child on every wait list that there is available. You may not ever need it, and that's fabulous. When they call you in 18 years and you're like, what? I don't remember signing up for this. You can say, you know what, I don't need this service, but thank you so much for calling me. Go to the next person on the list. But if you need it when your child is 18, 19, 20, you don't want to have to wait till they're 38 to get it. So sign up for everything there is. Call 211, get yourself on all of the wait lists, because you never know what you might need, and it's better to have it than not have it. So I know that when people talk about thinking about I'm worried about my child 3 going to school for the first time. I'm not thinking about what happens when my child is 18, but think about it, because it might be a benefit to you when they get older. But this kind of talks about some skills that your child should have when they are 3 to 5 to help them be successful. And you'll see a common theme as they age out. And so it talks about making choices, solving problems, regulating your emotions. When I am upset, when I am mad, and I am 3 to 5, what do I do when I'm really, really mad? I'm gonna lay on the floor, I'm gonna scream, I'm gonna throw a temper tantrum, I'm gonna roll on the floor. Helping them understand how to regulate their emotions. There is nothing wrong with being mad, sad, upset, angry. Those are all emotions that we all have, and they are okay to have. It's okay to be disappointed, it's okay to be mad. It's not okay to hit me, kick me, bite me. It's not okay to throw toys at me. But helping them understand how to regulate those emotions, because they are not born knowing how. We have to learn, and we have to teach them how. We're gonna talk about that a little bit more, but that's so important to helping our children be successful adults, is how do I regulate my emotions when I'm upset? Holding high expectations, helping them make choices, include your child in chores, even if they can only complete a part of it. Make them help you around the house. It helps them be independent. I can put a sock in my drawer. I can help you with some little things, but having your child have expectations up to what their needs are. And if you struggle with that, like I'm not sure what my child can do, they can help you here. Your child's teacher can help you. There's resources out there so that you kind of understand or have ideas of what chores you can give a 3-year-old that's realistic, but have them help you. I'm talking about the jobs in your family, and I don't mean what you do outside of the home. I mean in the home. I am the chef at home. I'm responsible for cooking dinner. Dad is our lawn man. He mows the lawn. Dad takes care of the pets. But talking about that so they understand, and then giving them a job. Your job is to make sure the dog has food. You take the scoop, you put it in there. You're the pet feeder. It makes them feel important. I have a job. I am an important member of this in it, and you'd be surprised how much pride a young child will take in, I have a job. I'm important, and I'm not gonna forget, because this is my job. Okay, keep going. This is what I just said, put your child's name on interest list for Medicaid waivers as soon as you can. Don't forget that. Contact 211, provide opportunities. We've talked about all of this. As they get older, you can see, here's 6 to 10-year-olds. There's a lot more that they're expected to do when they're 6 to 10. But for me, knowing where my child is going helps me know how I can help prepare them to get there. It's just like if you're driving and I'm going to a location, if I know where I'm going, I know the steps I need to take to get there. So knowing what is expected of a 6 to 10-year-old is important. Next slide. So, okay. So this is the last handout that you actually have. And it is a lot of the same things that we've already talked about, but this is like more in a checklist. So if you're talking about birth to age 3, so our littlest ones, can they make a choice between 2 items? Can they indicate what they want? And it doesn't have to mean I have to use a word. I can point, I can look at it, I can nod my head, I can when you show me what I want. Any of that is indicating a choice. What I encourage you is to not give into a choice when I'm screaming, I'm yelling, or I'm throwing a fit. Wait until I'm calm and I can, in whatever way I'm able to, indicate what I want. Whether that's an approximation, whether that's a grunt, whether that's pointing, whether it's eye gaze. But you don't want to reinforce when I'm in the middle of a fit giving me what I want, because that just reinforces that behavior. It talks about goal setting, helping them wash and dry hands, putting out dirty items away, building a tower, asking for help when needed. You'd be surprised how hard that is. I don't know how to say help. I want help, or point to help, or even know sometimes that I need help doing something. And expressing the need to use the restroom and gaining independence. Potty training is huge and big, I know, and it takes time, but helping them take those steps towards becoming independent there. Expressing a like and a dislike for toys. Telling you what they like, telling you what they don't like. That is helping them build independence. And it's okay if I don't like this food, but teach me an appropriate way to tell you I don't like it. And then helping them to communicate and engaging in that back and forth communication. And when I say that, I may not be capable of having a conversation with you where we take turns talking, but if I am babbling and making noise, blah, 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 when I stop, say, oh, are you telling me what you did today at school? And then I blah, 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 blah back. That is starting to teach them the convictions of having a conversation and how to take turns when you're talking. You don't know what they're saying, you're just making it up as they babble or they make noises. But you're teaching them how to have that back and forth conversation. Okay. This, in that guide that you have, not only does it tell you skills that they need to have, but to me, you can tell me all day long what my child needs to be doing, but I don't know how to do that. I need someone to tell me what that means, what that looks like. That's what this is. So on the other one with the checklist, we're telling you what they should be doing. Here, we're giving you ideas of how to do it. One of the things down here where you're talking about how to regulate your emotions, we're gonna go into this a little bit more. When I'm upset, that's not the time to talk to me about my emotions. Think about when you're really, really mad at your spouse, your significant other, or another adult in your life, and they're talking to you. Does that make you feel better, or does it make you like get more angry? You're just like, talk to the hand, leave me alone. Your kids are the same way when they're mad. They don't want you to sit there and have a long conversation. But when I'm calm and I'm not upset, we can practice breathing. You picked a great book. You picked the Breathe With Me book. It talks about a bunch of different ways to breathe. But just a deep breath. Just take a deep breath for a second, really deep. It makes you feel better. It makes you relax. But teaching your child when they're not upset to breathe when I'm upset and then reminding them that they can breathe. If you've got little boys, one of my favorite breathing techniques is Superman or Spider-Man. You just breathe in, and then you breathe out, you shoot your webs. Because they think they're Spider-Man, and they'll do that without realizing that they're learning to calm themselves. They'll think I'm being Spider-Man, which is fun. And again, this goes into 3 to 5 year olds, skills that 3 to 5 year olds should be able to do. And then the next one, we'll talk to you about how you can teach it. And you'll see that on every single one of these, the important steps for families when they're little is the same. Putting your child on the Medicaid waivers and calling 211 to see what programs are available. That is the important step at every age of your child's life. And keep going.
I feel like Misty is wanting to plug herself right here because that is also something that she specifically helps with.
Go for it.
She
If you plug
does.
yourself.
And I'll just say there's eligibility requirements to be on the list, and I can always walk you through. The main requirements are you do need to be a citizen, you do need to have an IQ of 75 or below, and have adaptive living issues. When it comes to income, it's confusing because you hear Medicaid waivers, but it's not Medicaid insurance. And since Ms. Lee talked about the waiting lists are long, they're not looking at your income. They're gonna be looking at your child's income if they're 18 or older. So I know you're thinking about it right now. Well, they're not that age, but they are going to be that age. So you're thinking, a lot of my families will say, I may not be eligible. Well, we don't know that, and the waiting list is so long, so you may be eligible. So, and I kind of walk you through there. I have a whole website, dedicated page on our Coppell website of how to walk you through. There's one that you're gonna call, and that's for the state of Texas. And then there's one that's for the county that you call for Dallas. These are not transferable, so if you move to another county, you will have to sign up. If you move to another state, you will have to sign up. And unfortunately, Texas ranks 50 out of 50 for Medicaid waivers. We are the lowest state. That's why our list is so long. Everyone always asks, what are the top states? What I've heard from other people are New Jersey and California. So those are just some highlights to think about. Unfortunately, we're a really big state, so we have a large population and lots of people to serve, but I can kind of help you through that process.
And y'all are very blessed because there are a lot of resources available here for you. And so if you don't know what they are, ask. Take advantage of them. Take advantage of the help making visuals. Take advantage of the help signing up for things. Take advantage of everything that's offered to you because it's there. And it's there for a reason because they want to help you. So keep going. So I like this because I like you to see, here's some of the things that were expected when your child is 9 to 12, in 9 to 12th grade. Sorry, not 9 to 12, but helping to plan their own IEP, attending their own ARD meetings. They come to those. They help advocate for themselves. And so when we're teaching them how to regulate their emotions or express their likes or dislikes when they're 3, we're teaching them how to advocate for themselves when they're in high school. Those are directly linked. This is a skill you have. First, I have to learn how to express what I want and don't want before I can advocate for myself in high school for what I need. Helping them talk about where they're going to live, helping them use successful behavior strategies, helping them how to deal with peer conflicts. That starts with, how do I share and take toys with you when I want the block that you want? That is directly going to be related to being able to resolve conflict with my peers when I'm in high school. So to seeing where you're going, and then again, see how long the list is here for important steps for families when they're in high school? There's a lot. We're not there yet, but just knowing what's coming.
And we do record all of these meetings, so you may not be ready for one of our previous meetings like Social Security, but down the line you may say, man, now I need that information and I didn't attend. Don't worry, it's on the website. You can go back and watch it anytime.
So I always like to talk, even though that's not technically our topic today, but what about challenging behavior? Because how many of us deal with some type of challenging behavior at home? Anybody? I know I do, even with my adult children. But what about challenging behavior? Next slide. This is one of my favorite quotes because to me, it's very powerful. If our child doesn't know how to read, what do? We teach them. If they don't know how to swim, how to multiply, how to drive, we teach them. But when our child doesn't know how to behave, a lot of times we automatically go to, we punish. There's consequences. That's not going to shape my behavior. You can punish me all day long. You can take away things. You can put me in timeout. That's not going to teach me how to behave. That's not going to change my behavior. That's not going to make it better or different. What's going to change my behavior is teaching me another way to behave, teaching me a more appropriate way to act. And so reframing the way we as adults think about behavior and not going straight to punish, going straight to teach. If you get upset and you hit, kick, and bite me, I need to teach you a more appropriate way to act when you're upset. Maybe that is giving you a toy to squeeze. Maybe that is giving you a beanbag chair to sit in. Maybe that is giving you a punching bag if you need something to punch that you can punch as opposed to punching me or another person. So teaching me an appropriate way to act. Next slide. So here's just some quick strategies to help prevent some challenging behaviors. Giving your child an individual prompt or a visual to transition. Talked about that at the beginning. The importance of letting them know that a transition is happening and how to prepare for that. Reviewing the rules and the expectations with the child prior to going. We're going to dinner tonight. We're going to Chili's. Remember, when we go to a restaurant, what do? We sit at the table. We might color on our paper. They're going to give you crayons when you walk into Chili's. But telling them what you expect in words that they understand. And even if you go to Chili's every Friday night and you're like, they know how to act at Chili's. It's been a week. I'm 3. You're going to have to remind me again before we go to Chili's today what you expect. You might have to remind me when we get ready to get in the car. You might have to remind me while we're driving there. You might have to remind me again when we get out of the car to walk in. But teaching them that expectation and reminding them of the expectation if they start to try to get up or try to jump on the table or climb under the table, reminding them, remember what we do at Chili's. You might have to have a picture of what you do at Chili's to show them, but just reminding them. Setting the time for the amount of time a child might use a toy. You can watch 1 episode of Bluey. You can do 3 puzzles. You can go down the slide 10 times. But setting that expectation when you start and sticking with it. And then if you have a child who's really struggling with something, I'm a big fan of what we call scripted stories or social stories. It's a story about me. When Cindy is upset, Cindy takes time to breathe. When Cindy gets mad, Cindy does this. Cindy uses her hands for handshakes and high fives. But you're telling me what I do, and it's a story about me, so I want to read it because it's about me. I'm sure that if you need help with that, Rachel can help you with that. Your child's teacher can help you with that. I'm even willing to help you with that if you need a social story. I write them all the time. It doesn't take long. If you needed something, you send me pictures, I would happily make one for you. But they're a great way to help teach a child how to behave by talking about what they should be doing. It's preventative, it's teaching, and you're reading it. So I think next slide, do I have anything else, or is that it? No.
I think it just switches over.
Breathing techniques, even for yourself. When you are mad, your child is pushing your buttons, your spouse is pushing your buttons, your mom's pushing your buttons. Stop, take time to breathe. It makes a huge difference. It's okay to take 5. It's okay to turn around, to take a few seconds to breathe before you react. So some breathing techniques, blowing out the candle. You smell the flower, and you blow it out. It's just a visual to remind yourself to do it. Stop, take a deep breath, and reflect. That's what STAR is. It's just stop, take a deep breath, Think about what you're gonna say before you say it. I tell people that all the time. When we act out of anger, we say words we can't take back. Stop, take a deep breath, and reflect. But you do it, and then you teach your child to do it. The balloon is, I'm just gonna blow up a balloon. Then a puppet, and let it go down. Kids love balloons. They know what balloons are. It's a concept they understand. So if you just teach them, and then when you see them getting upset, you can say, let's do the balloon. Okay, we're doing that. The drain is just, you're gonna go up like you're filling a sink full of water, and then you whoosh, and let it out. And this one, I think it's hard for 3-year-olds, but it's great for us as adults. But you just cross your hands and you do like this. And you breathe. And I like it because if you try it, it's like giving yourself a little hug. So you just take your hands out like this. You cross them like this. So your palms are out. You cross them. And then you fold it in. And not only are you breathing, but you're giving yourself a little hug. And it feels really good. But it's a great way to calm yourself down. And I will tell you from personal experience, this was one I used when my children were little. And when they would really push my buttons and I would get really upset and I would do this, they would know, oh, mom's bad. Give her a minute. It was just kind of it helped me calm, but it was a visual to my kids that mom needs a minute. You push my buttons, mom needs a minute. So I think that is, okay. I'm gonna let you watch this video and then I'll tell you that. It's just my foot on this.
I am often asked to describe the experience of raising a child with a disability, to try to help people who have not shared that unique experience to understand it, to imagine how it would feel. It's like this. When you're going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy. You buy a bunch of guidebooks and make your wonderful plans. The Colosseum, the Michelangelo David, the gondolas in Venice. You may learn some handy phrases in Italian. It's all very exciting. After months of eager anticipation, the day finally arrives. You pack your bags and off you go. Several hours later, the plane lands. The stewardess comes in and says, "Welcome to Holland." "Holland," you say. "What do you mean Holland? I signed up for Italy. I'm supposed to be in Italy. All my life I've dreamed of going to Italy." But there's been a change in the flight plan. They've landed in Holland, and there you must stay. The important thing is they haven't taken you to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place full of pestilence, famine, and disease. It's just a different place. So you must go out and buy new guidebooks. And you must learn a whole new language. And you will meet a whole new group of people you would have never met. It's just a different place. It's slower paced than Italy, less flashy than Italy. But after you've been there for a while, and you catch your breath, you look around, and you begin to notice that Holland has windmills, and Holland has tulips. Holland even has Rembrandts. But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy. And they're all bragging about what a wonderful time they had there. And for the rest of your life, you will say, yes, that's where I was supposed to go. That's what I had planned. And the pain of that will never, ever, ever go away. Because the loss of that dream is a very, very significant loss. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to Italy, you may never be free to enjoy the very special, the very lovely things about Holland.
And I love that video because it's just so true. It was written by a parent of a special needs child, just expressing her own